ガキ扱いなら舐められた方が良かったよ。
君はいくつか視線を超えてきた。でもそれで大人になったわけじゃない。枕元の抜け毛が増えていたり、お気に入りの惣菜パンがコンビニから姿を消したり、そういう小さな絶望の積み重ねが人を大人にするのです。
Jujutsu Kaisen is a series that can take great pride in its character writing, featuring a diverse cast of personalities that are both nuanced and relatable. Akutami's characters are consistently grounded in a deep sense of realism and resonance. JJK takes modern-day Japan and superimposes its fantasy elements over it, creating a tasteful blend of natural and supernatural. This context lends itself to a very genuine sense of charm and familiarity, with characters that exude a tangible feeling of humanity. This is accomplished by Akutami's subtle approach to world building, focusing less on extravagance and grandeur, and more on the simplicity of normal human society to complement these supernatural aspects. Akutami makes a conscious choice here to build characters that are fundamentally regular people and thrust them into the supernatural, rather than construct characters around the magical or mystical elements of the series. This decision actually takes pressure off of Akutami in that it allows the characters to develop in a more organic direction by focusing their growth on genuine human emotions and motivators. In this way, Jujutsu Kaisen's core themes can all be extrapolated from how its characters interact with the world and see themselves within it. To take it one step further, these core themes exist in the ways the characters cope with and overcome their struggles and repressed anxieties. In this regard, Jujutsu Kaisen is first and foremost a catharsis.
自分はやりがいとか生きがいなんてものとは無縁の人間。3、40歳までに適当に稼いで、あとは物価の安い国でふらふらと人生を謳歌する。
The ex-salaryman Jujutsu sorcerer Nanami Kento is truly a testament to character-driven storytelling in terms of his simplicity, relatability, wisdom, and self-awareness. He is the epitome of a disillusioned adult who never really found a passion or purpose in life. But despite this relatively unexciting backstory, his character arc is anything but flat, and I would even argue that Nanami is one of the most fascinating characters in Jujutsu Kaisen because of how perfectly he as an individual meshes with the major themes of JJK. Nanami Kento was a grade 1 sorcerer that graduated from Jujutsu High, where he was a classmate of Satoru Gojo. Despite being a relatively powerful sorcerer, he decided not to pursue a career in Jujutsu, instead opting to become a salaryman because he found sorcery cumbersome and clashed with the status quo maintained by the Jujutsu hierarchy. He drifted aimlessly for a few years while he labored as a salaryman, which in turn took a toll on his mental health. He had no solid goals, with his only thoughts of the future being to accumulate enough wealth by the time he was in his early 40s to quietly retire somewhere with a cheap cost of living, and cared little for anything except money. Upon observing the corporate world's fixation on money and what he perceived to be the futility of it all, Nanami contemplated both the meaning of life and his purpose in society. He even proclaimed that he was a person with no concept of a reason for living. Since episode and chapter 1, Jujutsu Kaisen has pondered the notion of the meaning of life and similarly the meaning of death. More importantly, as a series, JJK contemplates what it means to live earnestly and righteously, and subsequently die a proper death.
必要ありません。それはもう大勢の方にいただきました。悔いはない。
A diverse cast of sorcerers exist within the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, and though the act of exorcising cursed spirits that could threaten the safety of human society is generally considered to be a quote-unquote good act, Akutami is very careful not to portray sorcerers as heroes. Quite the contrary, in fact, sorcerers pursue this profession for any number of reasons, but that reason is very rarely something completely selfless. Jujutsu Kaisen becomes a mechanism via which sorcerers can conquer their own psychological issues. And it is so fitting that Nanami, one of the most powerful sorcerers we've seen to date, harbors a deeply rooted sense of uselessness. Akutami doubles down on sorcerers not being heroes in the character of Nanami, in that even considering the generally positive results sorcerers might create through their job, that does not necessarily equate to fulfillment. Jujutsu sorcerers are not inherently better than regular humans, and someone as quote-unquote special as Nanami is equally likely to suffer from normal, everyday issues.
私が高専で学び気づいたことは、呪術師はクソということです。そして一般企業で働き気づいたことは、労働はクソということです。
そうなの？
同じクソならより適性のある方を。出戻った理由なんてそんなもんです。
くらいね。
What I particularly like about Nanami's character is the way his aimless existence is suddenly given direction. Over the years, he grew fond of the young woman who worked as a cashier at a bakery he frequented, and even remarked that no one would miss him if he disappeared, but that people would miss a bakery. One day, he noticed an, albeit weak, cursed spirit attached to the shoulder of this cashier. Though she couldn't see it, she described the sensation as a stiffness in her shoulder. Eventually, he offered to help, exorcised the spirit with little difficulty, and left without a word. The girl ran after him and shouted her thanks, which inadvertently brought Nanami to realize what he wanted to do in life. That small thank you finally gave Nanami a purpose. He did not need to be a hero, nor did he need to save everybody. Despite disliking Jujutsu as a profession as a whole, Nanami would pursue it for the chance to genuinely help others. He was not seeking gratitude, but learned the value of genuine appreciation. This simple realization is a succinct summarization of Jujutsu Kaisen's philosophies on morality and purpose, and changes the trajectory of the story significantly. JJK as a series routinely ruminates on the concept of having a reason to live, and discards the common shonen trope of having grand ambitions. There is no universal point to existing that is the same for every single person. Quite the opposite. Any motive or desire could be one of those reasons. Nanami's arc exists alongside other fantastic characters to claim that life is simply what you make of it, and that any meaning you didn't assign yourself is arbitrary at best. This philosophy is exhibited profoundly within all the protagonists and supporting characters, but extends equally to the antagonists. Nanami as a person is a glaring example of the duality of the world of Jujutsu, an extraordinary man capable of inhuman feats, but at the same time your average salaryman. Even his personality and conduct are indicative of this duality, with his outwardly curt and cynical attitude not being representative of the caring and compassionate man he is at heart. But duality is an ever-present theme in Jujutsu Kaisen, and one of the most notable instances of this is in the premise itself. It is extremely important to remember that cursed spirits are created by humans forged by negative emotions. The duality of ordinary people thrust into the extraordinary is complemented by the similar dichotomy that exists between humans and cursed spirits. It hints that Jujutsu sorcerers and cursed spirits are two sides of the same coin, that sorcerer and spirits alike are just aspects of humanity superimposed over modern day Japan. Along those lines, cursed spirits can find or create meaning in existence just as sorcerers do. And as Jujutsu Kaisen ponders the morality of acting in favor of one's goals, this duality also blurs the line between good and evil as sorcerer and spirit, respectively. Jujutsu Kaisen has proven time and time again that it is far from black and white, and that many shades of gray exist between every act. The skill of Akutami's character writing in Jujutsu Kaisen is complemented heavily by the simplicity with which many aspects are approached. In taking a simple yet nuanced point of view, Akutami built a story where protagonists and antagonists alike are constantly skirting the fine line that dictates good and bad, while simultaneously deciding for themselves what is just and what they stand for. In a story that emphasizes moral ambiguity via its eccentric cast of personalities, the stereotypical collected adult in the room that seems to have everything figured out provides significant direction to Itadori's own struggle with purpose. Akutami consistently demonstrates not only a very genuine understanding of who his characters are as people, but a masterful grasp of how the setting influences these characters' decisions and perspectives. The way the Jujutsu world seamlessly overlaps with modern society is reflected most prominently in JJK's best written individuals, who exude a legitimate sense of life and humanity because their traits are not fundamentally based within the world of Jujutsu. To put it more simply, these people have such well-defined qualities that one could believe they exist outside of the plot, and are basically just ordinary people thrust into an extraordinary world. No character embodies this dualistic nature more than Nanami Kento, who I believe to be a microcosm of JJK's core philosophical beliefs, and one of the best characters in the series.